ones who keep giving until they collapse. Life responds to awareness. It opens to those who choose balance, those who know that their own well-being is the foundation of everything they offer. Choosing yourself first is not arrogance, it is intelligence. You cannot light another's path while your own flame is dying. You cannot heal the world while you bleed silently inside. When you breathe, do you seek permission? No, because breath is survival. The same law applies to your mental, emotional and spiritual needs. Stop asking if it is okay to rest. Stop apologizing for saying no. Stop seeking validation for existing. Your life is your responsibility. If you do not honor it, no one else. And if that honesty unsettles people, let it unsettle them. Their comfort is not your cage. Let their opinions scatter like dust while you root yourself in truth. Set boundaries and hold them without trembling. Boundaries are not barriers, they are bridges to self-respect. They protect what is sacred within you. Without them, even the most generous soul will wither. You will know this day by the clarity that rises in you. A clarity that says, no more pretending, no more bleeding for approval. And when that clarity comes, embrace it. Let it strip away the false layers until what remains is your unedited self. Here lies the paradox that few understand. When you fill your own cup first, you do not become less loving, you overflow with love. You give without resentment, without exhaustion, without hidden bargains. Your yes becomes pure because it is not chained to fear. This is not selfishness in its shadow form, this is wisdom, luminous and fierce. The kind of wisdom that heals you and through you heals the spaces you touch. So let this be the day you return to yourself. Stop asking for permission to exist. Stop waiting for applause to validate your choices. Stop apologizing for being too much or not enough. Live in such a way that your presence becomes a lighthouse, a silent signal of strength and clarity. You were not sent here to fade into the background. You were sent here to stand in your truth so fully that it liberates others to do the same. Do not call this selfishness. Call it awakening. Call it the moment you reclaimed your breath, your voice, your power. Let the world adjust or let it walk away. What stays will be real. What leaves was never meant for you. And through it all, keep this truth closing. The greatest gift you can give is not your endless sacrifice. It is your wholeness. Because when you are whole, everything you touch becomes holy. And that is the life you were born to live. For years, you have lived carrying the weight of expectations, believing that if you gave enough, if you smiled enough, if you stayed agreeable, life would reward you with love and acceptance. But that reward never truly came, did it? Instead, what arrived was fatigue, emotional, mental, and spiritual. Because the truth is, people are not moved by your exhaustion, they are moved by your energy. And when that energy runs dry, all that remains is resentment and emptiness, disguised beneath the surface of a polite existence. Understand this, no one else will prioritize your well-being if you do not. The world is not designed to remind you to rest, to breathe, to live in alignment with your truth. The world will take as much as you allow it. And if you keep saying yes to everything, you will keep saying no to yourself. This is why reclaiming your life begins with a single decision. A decision to choose yourself without guilt. That choice will feel radical at first because you were conditioned to believe that your worth depends on how much you give away. But the opposite is true. Your worth has never been measured by sacrifice. It has always been measured by authenticity. Let go of the illusion that you can make everyone happy. You cannot, and trying to do so will break you long before it satisfies them. There will always be someone who wants more, someone who misunderstands you, someone who resents the boundaries you set. That is not a reflection of your value, it is a reflection of their expectation. Your job is not to live for those expectations. Your job is to live in a way that honors the life entrusted to you. That means saying no when it matters, walking away when it is necessary and standing firm when your soul demands it. When you stop performing and start living authentically, you will notice something powerful: the wrong people will leave and the right ones will arrive. This is the law of alignment. Those who thrived on your compliance will no longer find comfort in your presence. And yes, it will hurt at first, but that pain is a sign that you are shedding what no longer belongs. Do not cling to what must go. Life is not subtracting, it is making space for what truly fits. And when what is real comes, it will not ask you to shrink or hide. It will not fear your truth. It will celebrate it. Your peace will no longer come from keeping the waters calm for everyone else. It will come from knowing that your inner waters are still, even when storms rage around you. This is what happens when you stop outsourcing your sense of worth. You stop giving away your power like coins scattered on the street, hoping someone will return them to you as love. You realize that worth was never out there, it was always within. And when that realization sinks in, life feels lighter. You no longer live for applause, you live for alignment. The world may call you selfish when you begin this journey, and that is fine. Let them misunderstand. People often label what they cannot control as selfish. But this is not about control, it is about clarity. And clarity is freedom. The more you align with yourself, the less you are bound by guilt, shame, and fear. You start to move differently. You start to speak with a calm authority that comes from within, not from the need to convince anyone. And that inner authority will carry you further than approval ever could. Stop seeking perfection. Perfection is another mask, another performance for an audience that does not even exist. Life does not require you to be flawless, it requires you to be real. And real is enough. Real is powerful because it connects. When you show up as you are, unfiltered and unafraid, you become magnetic, not because you are trying to attract, but because truth always draws what belongs. This is the beauty of authenticity. It repels what is false and gathers what is meant. Remember this, always in boundaries are acts of, not walls of rejection. They are not about shutting people out, they are about keeping your energy sacred so that you can show up whole. Without boundaries, your yes loses its meaning because it comes from pressure, not choice. But with boundaries, your yes becomes powerful because it is rooted in truth. And when you live from that truth, you begin to experience a kind of peace the world cannot give, a peace that stays even when others disapprove. This journey is not about becoming hard or distant. It is about becoming anchored. When you are anchored within yourself, you are not tossed by every wave of opinion. You are not shattered by every judgment. You stand steady because sense of worth is no longer for sale. That stability is what allows you to love without fear, to give without depletion, and to serve without losing yourself. And when you live this way, you discover something profound. The life you were chasing all along was waiting for you on the other side of self-approval. So breathe deeply and step into this truth. You owe no one an apology for choosing yourself. You owe no one an explanation for living in alignment. And you owe yourself the life you were meant to live, one filled with depth, clarity, and presence. The time for waiting is over. The time for pretending is gone. Now is the time to rise, not in rebellion, but remembrance of who you are, of what you need, and of the boundless freedom that comes when you finally stop abandoning yourself. Every time you silence your truth to keep the peace, you create a storm within. At first it is a whisper, an uneasy feeling in your chest, a knot in your stomach, a voice saying, "This is not right." But you push it down because you fear what honesty might cost. So you wear the smile, you nod along, you make yourself smaller. And for a while it works. The world remains calm, but inside the storm grows louder. That storm is the life within you, begging to breathe. And when you keep ignoring it, you begin to lose your sense of self, piece by piece. Pretending becomes heavy because it demands constant effort. You start performing roles you never auditioned for. You wake up each day rehearsing lines for a play that brings you no joy. And the longer you act, the more disconnected you feel. You look in the mirror and do not recognize the reflection staring back. This is the price of approval, the slow erosion of authenticity. It steals your voice, your passion, your peace. And no matter how many people applaud the act, the emptiness inside keeps growing because applause cannot fill the void left by self-betrayal. When you finally drop the mask, life does not end. It begins. At first, the shift feels terrifying because the mask has become familiar, like armor you have worn for years. Taking it off feels like standing naked in a cold world. People who were comfortable with the version of you that served them may walk away. Let them. Their leaving is not rejection, it is release. You are shedding what no longer aligns so you can make space for what truly belongs. And what belongs will never ask you to pretend. It will meet you in the raw honesty of your being and honor it. The truth is, authenticity will cost you relationships, but it will never cost you peace. And peace is priceless. When you start living in alignment with your values, you stop negotiating your worth, you stop explaining your boundaries, you stop apologizing for being real. You begin to understand that life is not about pleasing everyone, it is about honoring your soul. This realization is not a loss, it is liberation. It frees you from the endless cycle of approval seeking and gives you something far more powerful: self-respect. Self-respect is the foundation of every healthy decision you will ever make. It is what keeps you from settling for less than you deserve. It is what gives you the courage to say no without guilt and yes without fear. When you respect yourself, you stop tolerating what drains you. You stop participating in dynamics that demand your silence. You start walking away from spaces where your presence is valued only when it is convenient. And as you do this, you begin to reclaim the life that was always meant for you, the life that feels light because it is aligned. This path will not always feel easy. There will be days when doubt creeps in, whispering, "Maybe I should go back to who I was." Do not listen. That voice is fear wearing familiarity as a disguise. Fear will always try to pull you back to the foot of the old because it cannot see the beauty of what lies ahead. But beyond that fear is freedom. Beyond that fear is a life where you wake up without the weight of pretense, where your choices reflect your truth, and where your presence feels whole instead of fractured. The most beautiful part of this journey is what happens when you live without compromise. You begin to attract people and opportunities that resonate with your authenticity. These connections may be fewer, but they will be deeper. They will not love the mask, they will love the essence. And in that kind of love, you will finally feel safe to expand instead of shrink. You will discover that real relationships are not built on control or convenience, but on respect and truth. Anything less than that is not love, it is an arrangement. And you were never meant to settle for arrangements. With authenticity comes clarity, and with clarity comes power. Not the kind of power that dominates others, but the kind that anchors you in unshakable peace. When you know who you are and what you value, the noise of the world loses its grip on you. Opinions no longer dictate your direction. Your guilt no longer chains you to obligations that drain you. You stop reacting to every pull and start responding with intention. That is the strength of a life lived in awareness. It moves with purpose, not pressure. So, rise into this truth without hesitation. You were not born to live a life of quiet desperation, performing for applause that does not sustain you. You were born to create, to love deeply, to walk boldly in your truth. You were born to shine not as a flicker seeking approval, but as a steady flame that lights its own path. And when that flame burns bright, it will not only guide you, it will illuminate the way for others who are lost in their own darkness. This is how change begins, not by pleasing the world, but by freeing yourself. And in that freedom, life finally becomes what it was always meant to be, an honest expression of your soul. No more masks, no more shrinking, no more silent suffering disguised as virtue, just you unapologetic, expansive and whole. This is the life that waits on the other side of fear, the life that begins the moment you choose yourself without guilt. And when you choose that life, you discover something extraordinary. What you once thought was selfishness was actually the purest act of love. Not just for you, but for everyone who will be touched by your authentic presence. Every time you compromise your truth for the comfort of others, you teach yourself a dangerous lesson, that your worth is negotiable. You tell yourself that peace is worth the price of silence, that harmony is worth the weight of your unhappiness. But the truth is, there is no real peace in pretense. Pretending is a prison, and every polite yes when your soul screams no adds another bar to the cage. You cannot build a life of freedom on the foundation of self-betrayal. The world has conditioned you to believe that selflessness is the highest virtue, that goodness is measured by how much you give and how little you keep. And so you emptied yourself, thinking that pouring from an empty cup was noble. But exhaustion is not a badge of honor, it is a sign of disconnection. You cannot bring light to others while your own flame is dying. You cannot heal the world while bleeding silently inside. Real contribution begins with wholeness, and wholeness begins with honoring your own needs. Selfishness, as most people understand it, is a misunderstanding. To choose yourself is not to harm others, it is to refuse to harm yourself. It is the recognition that you are not here to play the role of savior at the cost of your own soul. When you care for your own energy, your giving becomes pure. You serve from fullness, not obligation. You love without resentment. You help without losing your center. That is not selfishness. It is wisdom in its highest form. This wisdom asks you to let go of guilt, that invisible chain that has kept you tethered to a life of compromise. Guilt whispers that choosing yourself means abandoning others. But the truth is, abandoning yourself serves no one. It drains your spirit, turns your kindness into performance, and leaves you hollow. Let go of guilt. It is not your burden to carry. The people who truly love you will never ask you to betray your truth to keep them comfortable. There will always be those who call your boundaries harsh, your choices selfish, your clarity cold. But what they really mean is that you are no longer easy to control. Let them say what they will. Their discomfort is not your responsibility. Your responsibility is to live in a way that honors the life given to you. And when you do, when you stop apologizing for taking up space, you will discover that the weight you have carried for years was never yours to bear. Authenticity will cost you. It will cost you relationships built on pretense, habits built on avoidance, and identities built on approval. But what you gain is worth more than everything you lose. You gain peace, the kind that comes from no longer living in contradiction. You gain strength, not from domination, but from alignment. And most importantly, you gain yourself, the self you abandoned to please the world, the self who has been waiting for you all along. The path to this life is not without fear. Fear will tell you that honesty will break everything. And in a way, it will break the illusions you have been clinging to. It will shatter the false sense of safety that performance gave you. But beyond that breaking is a beauty you cannot imagine. It is the beauty of breathing deeply for the first time in years, the beauty of living without editing every thought, the beauty of existing without apology. Once you taste this freedom, you will never want to go back. The chains of guilt will feel foreign. The weight of others' expectations will no longer fit on your shoulders. You will begin to move through life with an ease that surprises even you. Not because life has become easier, but because you are no longer fighting yourself. You are no longer scattering your energy to meet every demand. You are rooted, steady, clear. From this place, love changes. It becomes lighter because it is not tangled with fear. You love without needing to prove anything. You give without emptying yourself. You say yes without resentment and no without guilt. And that clarity ripples outward. It inspires others to reclaim their own freedom. Not because you told them to, because your presence becomes a silent invitation to live authentically. Your presence will carry more weight than your words ever did because it will be grounded in truth. You will notice that the wrong people drift away and the right ones draw near. And this time, you will not cling out of fear or chase out of loneliness. You will let life flow, knowing that what aligns will stay without force. That is the gift of living without pretense. You stop begging for belonging because you realize you belong to yourself first. Do not underestimate the power of one honest life. When you choose authenticity over approval, you become a mirror for others who are tired of their own masks. You become proof that freedom is possible. And in a world drowning in performance, that proof is rare, precious, and transformative. This is how change begins. Not through loud rebellion, but through quiet, unshakable truth. So choose yourself today, not in arrogance, but in awareness. Choose the boundaries that protect your peace. Choose the silence that heals. Choose the yes that is full and the no that is firm. Choose the path that feels aligned, even if it means walking alone for a while, because that solitude will not last. Life always gathers what resonates. And soon you will find yourself surrounded by people who see you, not your mask. The journey will challenge you, but it will also set you free. It will strip away the weight of guilt, the burden of pretense, and the illusion of perfection. And in that rawness, you will discover something extraordinary. The life you were searching for was never out there. It was within you, waiting for the moment you stopped abandoning yourself. The world does not need another person performing for approval. It needs people who are alive, grounded, and real. People who honor their truth and in doing so, invite others to do the same. Let that be you. Let your life be the message, the quiet revolution that proves there is no greater gift than authenticity. Walk boldly in that truth, and you will not just live, you will illuminate. And in that light, everything you have been seeking will find its way to you. Namaskar.